Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Uncensored Critic podcast. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. It means the world to me. Thank you so very much, as always. And today, we welcome along someone slightly different today, someone from the music business, but it's a genuine pleasure to have her today. That, of course, is Nicki Leighton-Thomas. Is that right, Nicki? Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a common theme one here. I need to check I say people's names right. So let's take a moment to introduce Nicki and her work right now. So Nicki is a critically acclaimed singer with a passion for jazz. After spending her formative years singing in choirs and starting a band at 17, she went on to drama school before moving to London. Following a chance meeting with composer Simon Wallace, it led to Nicki's first studio album called Forbidden Games, which was the Evening Standard's album of the week, as well as raking in a 4-star review from both The Guardian and The Times. She then went on to be a fixture in the London jazz scene, performing at places such as the 606 Club, Pizza on the Park, Pizza Express Jazz Club in Dean Street, the Groucho Club, hopefully I said that right, the Café de Paris, the Barbican, the 100 Club, the Festival Hall, amongst many more clubs and festivals. Festivals, of course, including the London Jazz Festival and the Stables at Wavendon. In 2017, she released an album of songs by Dory Previn, recorded and produced by John Reynolds, and her work can be heard from artists such as Gary Husband and Belinda, Carlisle. And currently she's working on a pop project as part of the John Owen Williams Syndicate, and also a future album which will be hopefully released in June of this year. And that's just a small sample of Nicki's work. So, hello, Nicki.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good, I'm very well too. And it's not raining today, which is a good thing.
I know, a day without rain in the UK. I'll be blessed.
Amazing.
Yeah, it makes a difference. Makes a difference. Anyway, so Nicki, thanks for coming along today. So we start at the beginning. So in your case, where did it come from? The love of music, the arts, being in this business. Where did it come from?
Well, I always wanted to be an actress, actually, like you, I
Ah,
think. And
right.
I went to drama school. I'd always sung. I'd always sung in choirs. Singing was so much a part of my life that I didn't actually think of it as a career because it was just something I did all the
Hmm.
time. And went to drama school, sort of envisaged myself as the next Judi Dench, performing Shakespeare, and didn't quite work out that way. I think I ended up doing a never-ending tour of a play called Murder by Sex,
Hmm.
which was a real British farce. No, there wasn't actually any sex in it. It was just, I think the biggest amount of sex was me at when the curtain came down at the interval, singing Happy Birthday to somebody in a very, very short nurse's uniform, wearing stockings and suspenders. That's about it. But we did a lot of Blue Rinse audiences around the country. I had so many of my friends were so jealous because I I got my equity card, which in those days you absolutely had to have. And I got an agent and all this kind of stuff straight out of drama school. So, in my mind, my career was sort of getting off to a really good start. But it's so debilitating, the world of acting, going in for interviews and auditions. And yeah, I just, in my spare time, I started singing in restaurants. And I just found it so much easier because I could choose my own material. I could choose my own musicians. I could just go to a restaurant and say, I'm a singer, blah, 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 give them a tape. In those days, it was little cassette tapes. And I'd get a call and I'd go. And I had several gigs that I used to do on a regular basis every week in the end. And it just ended up the singing took over. And I was working at the Groucho Club actually, and I think it really took off when we did they used to do something called the Gang Show, and it was they had a house band, which was really famous musicians who were members of the club. They used to get people like Roland Gift and Jonathan Ross and Roland Redfern and all these incredibly big names. And I started being part of that, and Keith Allen used to do it, all sorts of people, poets, and anyway, I did that, and the piano player on in the house band was a guy called Simon Wallace, and just at the end of one of these gigs, he said to me, "Do you fancy coming and recording some songs?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." So at that time, he lived just south of the river in Battersea. I live just north of the river in Chelsea. So it was really easy. I used to rollerblade in the 1995 or something, rollerblade across the bridge and go and record stuff with him. And the songs that he was writing with this incredible poet and lyricist called Fran Landesman, I couldn't believe my luck when I started singing those songs because they really were the most fabulous, fabulous songs. And Fran had been a beat poet in the 50s in New York. She used to hang out with Allen Ginsberg and Jack Kerouac and Miles Davis and all these
Wow.
people. Yeah, she was just a force to be reckoned with and such a way with words. And I was so incredibly lucky. And Simon, we did some demos. Simon gave them to Fran, and Fran was blown away and just said, "Oh, wow, this girl has to sing my songs." So I then became a bit of a muse for her, and I worked with her for about 15 years before she died in 2012, I think it was. And we're still recording her stuff because there are so many songs. So it's really fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of them was we were talking before we came on, and one of them was "The Secret of Silence."
Yeah, I love that song.
Yeah,
She really, you were saying earlier about the secret of silence, the way with words when I wish you would teach me the secret of silence. I wish you would show me the way to be still. My thoughts keep on flying in different directions. My words simply clutter the spaces they fill. She's like an old-fashioned, proper songwriter, but she also has this modern way with thought that I think we can all identify with. So, and as I've said to you before, I love to tell a story through a song, and her songs are all just perfect stories. All of
yeah,
them.
yeah. I mean, and that's the sign of a great lyricist. You know, you've got like Fran Landesman, or you've got like Stephen Sondheim, or you've got who's on the great lyricists like Herbert Kretzmer, who wrote the lyrics for the Les Mis songs. You know, all that thing. You tell a story more than anything. That's what you're there to do. And I think like I know I've been caught in this trap as well. Is that when you sing a song, you think you've just got to make it sound nice.
Yeah,
You just got to like create the sounds. You've got to hit the right note, and ultimately you're singing the words. Of course you are, but you're not actually telling the story. In some ways, you forget about the story. They're just words on a page if you don't do it right. So, how do you get to what advice do you give to people who want to just tell the story in songs and not worry too much about making it sound good?
I think it goes back to acting. I think it goes back to inhabiting the words of a song. For me, the lyrics are more important than anything. Um, and actually, I can't sing a song if it's got a lyric in it that doesn't feel authentic to me, or that doesn't, or that I feel like I can't put across as a genuine emotion. Or if there was a song that I didn't understand what the lyrics meant, I probably wouldn't be able to sing it either. I'd have to find a way of working out what that song means to me, even if it doesn't mean the same thing to somebody else. It has to mean something to me, and I think
Mm,
that's the most important thing. It's
yeah.
the understanding of what you're putting across, which I guess is the same in acting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember I interviewed someone called Decker Walmsley, who was I don't know if you ever met him, but he played he had a long stint in Billy Elliot the musical, which funny enough is just announced it's coming back
Oh, great.
next year. So no, so not till next summer, guys. So get your I think you can sign up for like a pre-sale or something now. So if you want to go see it again, I know I
Wow.
certainly do. Then go get your sign up for the priority tickets. Get your tickets as soon as you can, guys. He had a long stint as Billy's dad in that, and I think there's I don't know. Have you seen the musical Billy
I
Elliot?
have, yeah,
Yeah,
and I've seen film.
yeah, yeah. Me too. At the start of Act Two, Billy's dad has that old Westfall song which he sings at the Christmas party, and it's a beautiful, beautiful song, and the way they stage it is just stunning. But he talked about how in rehearsals, and it's in our interview, in rehearsals, he said he had to sing it about 6 or 7 times before he could get through it without crying.
Yeah, that's
And
amazing.
and he said every time first few times I tried it, I just couldn't do it. I had to stop. And because the tears would just roll down my face because the character is singing about his wife who he lost a few years ago, which is Billy's mum, who has that beautiful letter song with Billy earlier in the show. gets me every time. And yeah, I mean, what's that feeling like when you really connect with the words and then the music kind of marries it all together? There must be some feeling.
I mean, I think also when you're playing live, you have obviously you're playing with musicians. When everything comes together, there's nothing like it. And you honestly feel this sort of almost a vibration with the music and
Mm,
words and the other musicians, and you're not thinking about it at all.
yeah,
Just something that happens through listening and hearing what the other people are doing. But it's almost you almost go into a trance-like state, I think, when some there's odd occasions when everything really, really comes together and makes sense. Um, no, I'm never alone on stage as a singer. I've got these other people who are supporting me
yeah.
doing something that I could never do, by the way. I'm always amazed at some of the musicians I work with and how good they are.
Yeah.
I remember saying to a friend of mine, a bass player once, God, I don't know, I just don't know how you do it. And he just looked at me and he said, yeah, Nicki, we might be good at what we do, but we could never do what you do. So yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. I remember there's a again, I don't know if you've ever met Denise Goff at all.
Oh, I know who she is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She has people, places, and things, blah blah blah. She's doing a play at the moment, actually, at the Pinter, actually, and it's a brand new. I can't remember the title. Sorry, Denise, if you're listening. And she talked about once. I mean, she hired an accountant once to help her with her like tax return one year, and she said, "Oh," and she said, "I went to pieces." I remember she did this interview. She said, "I went to pieces in front of her. I was like, I don't know how to pay tax. I don't know how you do it." And he looked at her and went, "Darling, it's okay. I mean, yeah, I can do your taxes, but I couldn't get up in front of 500 people and do a monologue of Shakespeare.
I
That's
think
like, yeah,
I think people who perform and who are successful have had to work really, really hard at it. So
mm,
the idea and to reach a certain level, the idea that there's something that you can't do, like say your taxes.
yeah,
I mean, you probably could, but it's whether you'd want to put that much time and effort that you
yeah,
put into doing what you actually want to do into doing your taxes. I don't know. But yeah, I completely get that. That's
yeah, yeah. It's crazy, but it's funny because do you remember like I remember the first time I was asked to sing in front of like I did this thing called Stagecoach for many years. It was like
oh,
a
I remember Stagecoach.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's like a youth drama club sort of thing. I remember the first time we had to like sing, just do a little warm up exercise, just sing by yourself in front of the whole group. And it was literally just a couple of scales. It lasted maybe 5 seconds, and that was it. But that was the scariest 5 seconds of my life at the time. Whereas now it's like you, I can get up and sing some stuff in front of people. It's like, yeah, that's fine. But I realized it took me a long time to have that confidence and stand up on stage. From that terrified child in
Yeah.
the classroom in front of a piano to where I am now, and of course, and where you are now. I mean, for anyone who out there, so well, what was that journey like for you from that first moment where you had to sing in front of everybody to where you are now? How did you build that confidence?
I think I definitely still suffer from nerves before I
Oh,
sing.
it's natural, yeah.
Um, and I usually have to give myself a really good talking to before going on stage. And then within 10 seconds, everything calms down and I'm fine and I feel very zen.
Mm,
But you got to remember, I think there have, in the early days, there were definitely, I mean, I did a lot of background in restaurants. So,
mm,
where people weren't really listening, or you'd have sort of some of the tables at the front who would really listen and they'd book those tables specifically to come to listen, but others weren't. So going from that and then going to, I don't know, performing on the main stage at the Barbican in front of 4,000 people for a concert, which is absolutely terrifying. But I just give myself a good talking to and say, if you don't enjoy it, Nicki, nobody else is going to. So it's that idea of whistling a happy tune, and you have to just pretend you're enjoying it for the first 10 seconds, and then suddenly you are. So yeah, but it is sometimes crippling, the anxiety you can get. It's the idea of making a mistake, which can happen. If you're doing stuff live, mistakes happen. And I think I've now got to the stage with experience that actually, when you make a mistake, it's really not the end of the world. And actually, the earlier on in a concert that you can make a mistake, the better,
Mm,
because actually, it's the way you deal with it
yeah.
that puts the audience at ease and shows them a very human side of you. And in jazz, they sort of say, well, there's no such thing as mistakes because a lot of it's improvised anyway. I have to say that I've never really seen myself as a jazz singer. The only reason I'm called a jazz singer is because I work with Fran Landesman, who came from sort of jazz royalty, having had songs recorded by Miles Davis and worked, in that whole New York scene.
Mm,
But the idea that there are mistakes in music, it's like acting. You can improvise, you can overcome things, or you can stop a song and start again, or you can say to an audience, oh, really fucked up there. Um, and as long as you're not crippled by it,
yeah.
it actually often just really relaxes the audience and they enjoy it even more.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so hopefully I don't make too many mistakes these days, but definitely if you do make a mistake, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. It makes you a stronger performer as well as person. So, and it's the benefits of failure. Obviously, none of us like failing. It's not a fun experience, but
Yeah.
it teaches you something and it helps you get stronger always. And yeah, I remember seeing a clip of Michael Bublé who was doing a concert at the O2, and halfway through a song, it just I don't know. I think he just saw something that made him laugh, and he just turned around to the band and went, "Like, guys, stop, just stop a second." And he had to get this laugh out of him, and he was like, "I'm really sorry. I've just seen someone over there with a funny sign, or someone's just really made me laugh over there." And
Yeah,
like you say, it's like the human side of it more than anything shows you that
absolutely.
we're
It's
still
the imperfections, because none of us are perfect, and we all have imperfections. And I think it's the imperfections and the acceptance of imperfection makes you a much more human performer, somebody that people can really relate to. So yeah,
yeah. It's almost like a showstop in the theater. Sometimes it's like they this is a human thing. This is a real thing that we're seeing now. We can get lost in the illusion of it, but at the end of the day, it's people actually, real people, getting up on stage and telling us a story with all these instruments around us all the time, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's very much that. You've just reminded me of going to see Inter Alia, Susie Miller's.
Yes, brilliant, brilliant play.
And actually, something happened to an audience member, and they had to stop the show in the middle of it, which was a real shame. So, uh, just exactly that. It's quite hard for actors in the middle of a very big scene to then kind of go back and get into it at a specific spot and draw you back in as an audience. But obviously, Rosamund Pike was so incredible. So,
Oh,
yeah.
incredible, incredible. If anyone hasn't seen it, I think they'll probably do another cinema relay of both those plays, Prima Facie and Inter Alia. So if you can, guys, if you haven't seen it, go get your tickets now. I'll wait for the announcement, whichever one it is. I remember there was I went to see the Lehman trilogy once, and like the reboot of it, where they with Hattie Fraser and a few others, like the new cast, and they had a couple of showstops that night because the set, if anyone hasn't seen it, it was like a big kind of rectangle cube of offices because they were talking about the Lehman Brothers and then built up to the Wall Street crash, and they had these and their cube or rectangle kind of stopped in the wrong place, so they were like an angle to the audience, and you can also see we remember all of us going, something's not right here, something's gone wrong, and then the stage manager came out and said, okay, stop there, stop there. Hello everybody, yeah, something's gone wrong, we're going to try and fix it. And they went back to it, and then they started the play again, and then Hattie Fraser, they had a live piano on stage, so the note hit on the piano, and Hattie Fraser had the first line, and he just looked up at the audience and went, and this is not a line in the play. He goes, as we were saying, and it just started again, and I thought, oh, there you go.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
I think someone I was at drama school with was in that version that you saw.
Mm.
Ravi, his name was. I can't remember his surname, but anyway, yeah, he was in the Lehman Brothers
Oh,
trilogy.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know there's been so many productions, and sorry if I've forgotten any of your names, guys, who were in it that night, but Yeah, and that's another player that I employ people to see as well. That's brilliant.
Oh.
So let's talk about your love of jazz. So the first question, really, why jazz?
Well, as I mentioned, I don't know. As probably because, well, I'd always sung. I had a pop band when I was about um, 17. I think I sang in hotels in Mauritius, which is where I grew up for part of my life. I had a little jazz band. It was just easier to sing songs that people knew. I suppose, like many people, I started off with things like Summertime,
Mhm.
and then listened to a lot of Frank Sinatra and to a lot of Ella Fitzgerald. And so many of those songs just lend themselves to a hotel setting. And I was, background in hotels and things. So I ended up learning the Great American Songbook in that way. And then I had my little pop band. And then when I was doing these gigs at the Groucho Club, ended up singing songs that were definitely from that Great American Songbook. And then obviously meeting Fran Landesman, and she had written a very famous song called Spring Can Really Hang You Up the Most, which is in the Great American Songbook,
Mm.
and has probably been recorded on Spotify. There are over 100 people who've recorded that song, including Ella Fitzgerald, Roberta Flack, Barbara Streisand. Everybody's recorded it. And
Wow, popular. Mm.
yeah, very popular. And then so working with Simon Wallace, who was writing the music, and Fran Lansman, who was writing the lyrics, it was just a jazz setting. So it it wasn't a choice. It was just where I was taken. And so the idea of it being a jazz choice, it just wasn't. I just see myself as a singer who happened to be singing jazz songs. Um, I think there are some, when people think of jazz, they think of scatting and lots of improvisation. And I'm not really that sort of singer. Um, as I said before, it's much more about the story and putting a story across. I'm not as clever with my voice as many other people. And I think there are very few people who can get away with doing all that stuff as well with authenticity. Obviously, you have to practice it for years before you get any good at it. It's just not somewhere that I'm thinking of going anytime soon,
Mm.
really.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, well, what is it about jazz that appeals to you? Do you think is it like the smoothness? Is it the story? Is it the ability just to have like? Because I feel like jazz has a really calming aura about it. Like it doesn't make you jump around or something. It puts you in a really kind of relaxed mood. Was that part of the attraction? Do you think?
I don't know if I'd agree with you there. Um,
Okay.
I think there's a lot of bebop and stuff that is definitely not at all calming.
Okay.
Um, but it's not, for me, it's literally just about having worked with Fran Landesman, who was in that jazz world. And I don't only do jazz. I've worked with a lot of pop singers. The album I'm doing this year in June is with a guy called Paul Stacey, who's a bit like me, falls in between the jazz world and the pop world. And in fact, jazz musicians who he works with a lot say that he's a rock guitarist. The rock musicians say that he's a jazz guitarist. And, he's worked with Oasis and Noel Gallagher's Fly High Birds,
Wow.
the Finn Brothers, Black Crows. He was part of the Black Crows for a while. And yet he does whole weeks at Ronnie Scott's with a band that he's got with his brother. So he's definitely someone who falls between two worlds and doesn't pigeonhole himself. So I guess I've been pigeonholed because of working with Fran and having reviews done by the jazz press and things, but I wouldn't necessarily call myself a jazz singer.
Mm.
So yeah.
No, interesting. Yeah. So yeah, just to follow up on that, you say there's so many different kind of categories of jazz. What are they?
Oh my goodness, there are so many. I mean, depending on, it goes back to the 1920s, I guess. First had, I don't know, the sort of ragtime
Mhm.
style jazz, which was probably the beginning of it all. I mean, I'm not an aficionado, but then obviously the jazz that you hear now, if you were to go down on a weeknight to the 606 Club in Lots Road in Chelsea, you
Mm,
would hear what people are doing right now, and some of it's very avant-garde and very different. So, and there's so many different types of jazz in between, and not all of it is vocal led either. A lot of it is, sax led or piano led, or
of course.
you can think of all the different musicians who've done jazz. There's a new film coming out on Bill Evans, actually, who is Simon Wallace's favorite piano player. And I'm really excited to go and see that. I can't remember what it's called now, but I think it's got his name in the title. Um, and yeah, I'll be interested to go and see that.
Mm, yeah, I think we need to celebrate jazz a bit more because I feel like you say. I think some people say like there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Like emphasis on improvisation and stuff. And I think I think Bill Bailey called jazz music a surrealist car alarm or something or something like that.
Some of it can be, which definitely doesn't make us think of something calming, does it?
Yeah, that's probably a bit wrong about that.
Bill Bailey, I was on the radio with him once. We were doing Loose Ends, that show,
Yeah.
Radio 4, and he's a great lyricist himself.
Mm.
I was brought in to sing the kind of Christmas songs that he'd changed the lyrics to Christmas carols and made them all political, and I had to go in and sing. So yeah, he was a really nice guy.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, and he's one of those comedians that uses. I didn't realize you could use music as part of like your routine and stuff. Because I imagine like because you've got. I don't want to say constraint, but obviously when you're writing music, you've got your constraint is like meter, form, beats, drum beats, time scales. Is it in three? Is it in four? Is it in five? In some cases,
Yeah,
and like when you drop like a certain word that meets the rhythm of it, that must be quite a satisfying feeling. Not necessarily to get a laugh, but
yeah,
like also just to create like emphasize a certain line or create an impact. Like there's a song like "Fly Me to the Moon" or something
mm,
like that. It goes "Fly me to the moon." It's like to the moon. That sort of thing. I mean,
yeah,
that must be really satisfying when you get songs like that and other things, and
yeah.
hold the audience like that.
It's interesting because I remember working with a lot of jazz musicians. They never play the same thing twice. So, a song you could have rehearsed it a certain way, um, and then you get up on stage. I never forget getting up on stage once, working with a great drummer. He used to work with Fairground Attraction. His name's Roy Dodds. And in fact, he was part of Fairground Attraction. And we got up, I cannot remember which song it was that we were doing, but he suddenly went into this kind of reggae kind of style thing on his drums. And, all the other musicians picked up on it. I picked up on it. And I remember thinking, oh, this is fantastic. We've never done this song like this before. And of course, now I can't remember how we did it, which song it was. So there is that thing where you do have to listen to what others are doing if you want it to work.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, no, you're right. Actually, jazz can put you. Some forms of it can be like really relaxing. Other things can really get you going. Like I'm a big fan of Billie Holiday, and I
Oh
feel
yeah,
yeah, people like that. When the going gets tough, the tough get going and stuff. Oh, and like you
Strange
said,
Fruit, all those wonderful songs. Gosh, yeah. My mum always says, "Why can't you sing happier songs?" Because there's definitely a certain darkness around some of the lyrics
yeah,
sometimes. But it's kind of life, and it's what you get your teeth into, and it's true emotion and real. It's like plays that you go and see, tragedies, or the thing is about Fran is that she's very funny as well. So there is this funny side to her. Um, but I think the idea of only singing happy lyrics is quite a difficult thing to do. And in fact, that pop musician that I've worked with, John Williams, he only does happy songs. So when we sit down and write a song together, it could take us quite a long time. But he only wants upbeat, positive, happy lyrics. And my mum loves the stuff that I do with him.
It's
Um,
positive.
it's very, very positive. Yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose this is probably a question you get all the time, really, but what's your songwriting process? How do you write songs?
Well, with John, I mean, I only started writing songs about 3 years ago with John, and um, he teaches songwriting actually, and he sits down, we sit down, we try and we usually get an idea. Like the it only took a minute. That was the one we released last year. It only took a minute to fall in love with you in just a single second. I already knew, you know. He's got very strong ideas about what you can do when you write a song. Anyway, we sit down and we write lyrics and we change the lyrics and we get we get maybe two lines that gives us an idea and then we kind of expand on that idea and then he starts playing the guitar, he plays a few chords and says, what about this for a tune? Or I say, well, how about it could go here, there, or I mean it's a weird process. I don't know. It's difficult for me to because it's quite a recent thing for me songwriting. It's difficult to put my finger on how we do it because
Hmm.
it always seems quite amazing that we can do it and that we have done it. um Weirdly, something very frightening happened the other day.
Hmm.
John and I wrote a song together, and it's really good. I think it's really good and he thinks it's really good. We wrote the words. The idea came from the fact that my son has got a girlfriend and he's madly in love with her, but she lives in America. So
Hmm.
they do a lot of toing and back and forth. But they also do a lot of talking on the phone together. And anyway, the song, uh, it's a great song, but there's a problem because I couldn't see John. We'd written the lyrics, we'd written the tune, we knew how it had to be, and literally before we'd even learnt it, or just to give ourselves an idea in the studio, we just put down a really rough copy into the microphone of how the tune went and how the lyrics fitted in, just so that we could take it away with us, listen to it, improve on it, whatever. Anyhow, I couldn't then see John for about 2 months.
Hmm.
So in the meantime, he decides to keep working on the song and he decides to put it into this AI app.
Oh no.
It was the most frightening, horrifying thing ever. Not
Right.
because it was bad, but because it was so good what came out the other
Yeah.
end. This perfect tune,
Yeah.
perfectly produced, perfect vocals. Everything about it was just so perfect. When I listened to it, I was horrified because I thought this is a very, very scary thing. Because I don't even know, I haven't managed to record it since then because I don't, having that version in my head of how beautiful it sounds, it honestly is so polished, and
Hmm.
so well finished. But that doesn't take away from the fact that we actually did write it, the
Hmm.
song. But I'm in half a mind to just release it as it is and say, here's a song we wrote and put it into AI, and just release it as an AI song. But it was terrifying. I don't think I'm ever going to muck around with AI again.
Don't. Don't. Don't.
So,
No. I mean, stay away from that. We want to.
yeah,
I did a whole podcast episode about this with the agent Mildred Yuan, who we talked about the benefits of AI versus where we should draw the line and stuff.
yeah,
And I think, and funny enough, in that interview, I talked about how I was on YouTube one day and I came across this song and it said Ed Sheeran with gospel, and I thought, brilliant. Okay, yeah, I want to see what he has to do, well, what he's done. Sorry. So I went on the video, and immediately I thought, hang on a minute, something's not right here. The vocals were lovely. It
yeah,
sounded nice,
yeah.
but it sounded a bit like a video game, and the video looked like a video game. And I thought, there's a picture of Ed Sheeran come up like dancing around and stuff, and I thought that doesn't look like him. What's going on? And then I
No,
looked at, and then I looked in the description, and I realized it was all generated by AI.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I thought, and I immediately clicked off it, and I thought, no, 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 I'm not. And now I'm like, if, and there's some, I saw this other day, it was the tragedy of Liam Payne from One Direction, who sadly is no longer with us. There's some videos going around of this AI generated songs, not songs, songs of
Yep.
Cheryl Cole's voice singing about the loss of Liam, all that stuff. And sadly, these songs, from what I couldn't help but listen to just one or two of them, they're actually very good. They're
Yeah.
actually very good.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
And I'm like, and I've listened to a little bit and I immediately clicked off them. I don't have them on my phone. They're not on my Spotify list. I don't listen to them on YouTube anymore. I'm just like, anything that looks a little bit auto generated. I mean, you can tell an AI image just by the thumbnail or just like the video. And I think now more than ever, I'm glad you brought this up actually, because AI in the music, I think is, unless we do something about it, it's going to get more and more used. And sadly, because the results, like you said with your one, you're like, actually, that's made our song much, much better. And yeah,
I don't necessarily think it made it better. It is, but
yeah,
it is so polished.
yeah, polished, yeah,
To get to that finish on a song,
yeah,
you have to spend hours in a studio. You have to work and pay for some of the top musicians to come and do sessions for you.
yeah,
You have to pay for, sound engineers and producers and, um, the amount of money that it would cost to get a song that polished in this day and age. It would probably be about 2 grand just for that finished song.
yeah.
And that's without even putting it out there, and getting it onto all your platforms and everything and then promoting it and whatever. I it just was scary that it honestly took about 20 seconds for this app to come up with a version of the song that sounds completely finished.
Yeah.
And absolutely terrifying. I saw something on Instagram the other day. It was a drummer,
Mm,
and this drummer, very famous drummer, he'd been sent, and he's one of these drummers who could. There's one and him and maybe one other drummer in the world who can do this specific thing. Here she is, who
mm.
can do this specific thing that that
Hey,
this
doggy.
is Beanie is just anyway. This producer sent him a track and said, I've put together the drums. They're programmed, but this is what we want you to do on this song. And this drummer listened to this track and was like, "Why do you want me to do it? It's already on there. How did you get this to happen?"
Mm,
And the guy said, "It's AI." And he was like, "Oh my God, there's like two drummers in the world, and I'm one of them who can do this specific thing
mm.
on drums." And he's put it into AI and AI can do it. I don't know why I'm needed anymore, kind of thing. You
Yeah,
know,
but that's exactly it. We don't, why am I needed? And it's like we
yeah,
don't. And I think, of course, in acting as well, I can't remember the name of the actress. Well, I say actress in inverted commas. Uh, what was her name? I think I've kind of blocked it out because I don't want to think about it. But
yeah,
the one that it was like an actress that was entirely AI.
yeah,
And I don't want to sound controversial on here, but there was some ideas that the BFI, the British Film Institute, had funded that or been a part of that creation, and they came out and denied it. Said no, 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 that was not, absolutely nothing to do with us. Blah blah blah, and and that was the last I heard of it. But but the reaction from the business as a whole, from actors who are on the way out, like myself and others, was absolutely outraged. We're
yeah.
absolutely outraged because yeah,
Like with talking books and stuff, but they can just copy voices now. You don't even need you could just feed in words to a computer and it could come out as, Judi Dench or Meryl
mhm,
Streep, Jack Nicholson, or, whoever. It's just terrifying, really
yeah,
terrifying.
yeah. And I think one question for today was actually about the journey of making your studio album. Of course, I said in the intro it's forbidden games and stuff like that, which we'll get onto in just a second. But I imagine, like, at the time, and I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before, but the creative process, I think for anyone like musicians, creating songs, actors creating characters, writers writing plays or writing books, or screenplays, whatever it is, the creative process it's hard.
Yeah.
It's frustrating and it's tiring and it's exhausting and it makes you snap and you just go and you're putting your head and you spend most of the time with your head in your hands going, how the hell am I going to create this? And then you have issues with blocking, like writer's block or creative block or whatever it is. But yeah, but we push through that. And then
Yeah.
once we hear the final product and it's all human generated, by the way,
Yeah.
human generated, not AI, then we go, wow, we worked really hard to get that and we're really pleased with the result. Yeah. So tell me about that experience.
I think, well, it's a very different experience from the first album I did of Fran Lansman's work to the second album I did 20 years later,
Mm,
Fran Lansman's work. And interestingly, we decided to work with all the same musicians, who were all still working, and some of them are now, well, even then they were kind of at the top of their profession, but now are sort of jazz royalty and stuff.
mm,
Um, what was interesting was that the first time round, obviously in 1997, um, the studio that we worked in was actually in Simon Wallace's house. We did most of the vocals. And then we were in downtime in various little studios around the place. We did some in Abbey Road, some in the Premises Studios, some in Mole's Studios in Bath, wherever we could find time that was cheap. Um, but the second album, we didn't need to go into any studios. We did it all in Simon's studio at home. And he's got a grand piano, which is beautiful. He's got a drum booth, which is great. He's got all the necessary stuff to make it sound perfect. And I think that's the difference. But it was interesting working with all the same musicians 20 years on, and they all joked, I hope it's not going to be another 20 years, Nicki, before we work together again, because then we'll all be 60 or 70 or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, the process, the other thing is that I don't know whether you could sustain that level of intensity when you're working on a project for more than a project takes. I mean, I guess it's a bit like acting. If you're in something at the theatre, I don't know how Jodie Comer does it night after night after night, month
mm,
on end when she's the only, one woman show like that with all those words. But you know that when you do a project, be it a play, be it a show that you're performing, be it an album, you know that it's going to come to an end, the process of actually creating it. So you can work with that intensity. You know during that time that you're going to have to turn other people down and say, can't go out at the moment. Sorry, can't come to your birthday party. Can't come to
mm,
your. You have to sustain a level of fitness in your voice and in your physical, everything physical has to be working well. You're sort of one track minded on that one project that you're working on. And the musicians come in, you have to be really on top of your game. You have to know exactly what you're doing, who you're working with, the way they work, trying to make every moment in the studio count for something um, that you're going to be stuck with for the rest of your life, actually. So you've got to make it as good as you can make it,
mm,
uh, and not let yourself down or other people down by not sort of focusing on it to the best of your ability. And it's a very intense time. Yeah, it is a really intense time. And
mm,
then, you listen to different takes and you hear stuff in one take that you think, oh, I like that bit on that take, but I like that bit on that take. And, it's all different. And then it's making those decisions, the choices that you make. Or I sound really good in that bit, but the piano sounds dreadful. Obviously you can take things out and put things in nowadays, but um, it's also listening to a song as a whole. Sometimes your voice might not sound as beautiful or fabulous or how you want it to sound in a certain take, but overall that take might be the best take. It has a sense in it that you feel is right for the song, and therefore you
Mm,
choose, the choices you make are very important.
mm.
Yeah, it's a hard thing, that creative process.
Yeah, but the rewards of it must be just amazing at the end, and you think it was worth the blood, the sweat, the tears, and everything in between.
I think so. I mean, these days it's very difficult to promote things. You've got to get stuff out there. You've got to, try and get reviews and things like that. And I think that's really tough as well, these days. It's always good to have a story behind what you're doing, which we luckily did with it. It's weird because that first album we brought out, there was no social media or Instagram or Facebook or anything when we first
Mm,
brought it. So and it was all on CD. There was no Spotify, no YouTube. So it's a different world now, bringing music out. It's changed a lot, and it's difficult because of the amount of music that's coming out all the time. Um, you know, who was it? Kate Nash the other day. I can't remember who it was. Some fantastic singer who said that she's really well known and she tours and everything. She can't make money through touring anymore, so she's
mm,
on OnlyFans as a side hustle, so that she can make a bit of money because people don't make money. I can't remember how many plays you have to have on Spotify to make minimum wage, but it's thousands and thousands and thousands a month.
mm,
Um, so you certainly don't do it for the money. Uh,
mm.
but you do it for that creative process and the thing that you need to do to make you feel whole as a person, I guess. That sounds a bit pompous. Uh,
Yeah,
but, you know,
yeah. Interesting. OnlyFans as a hustle. So,
yeah.
yeah. Sadly, it's not uncommon anymore. But yeah, personally, not my thing.
No, I don't either.
No disrespect to anyone who does do that. You are entitled to live your life the way you want to, of course, in every way. But yeah,
But it's very hard to make a living from any. It was Christopher Eccleston, I think, was talking the other day about
yes,
actors, and actually it's this sort of posh person's thing because nobody else can afford to do it. If you've got a family who have enough money to support you through university studying and then, help you through the harder times when you're trying to make a name for yourself. Um, there's a lot of working class people who cannot do that and wouldn't consider doing that.
mm,
It's too much of a risk. And
mm,
I get it.
yeah. It's interesting about some people don't want to sort of like give that credit in some ways to say like they live in this world of like, oh, but we can afford all this stuff. It's like, well, why can't you afford it? It's like, have you seen what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, you live in your little bubble of wealth and happiness, and oh, daddy will pay for it, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But it's very different for a lot of people, and I think, like you say, just even the fact that what I got from that was like even just generating your own work is brilliant these days. It's absolutely brilliant because you've just got to put yourself out there, and by doing it with your own stuff,
Yeah.
is excuse me, is more important than ever, I think. And yeah, I'm just thinking there about how you recorded and stuff. I mean, I've spoken about this before with some voice people, but when you're going in the studio every single day and you've got to do take after take after take and make sure your voice is like optimal, obviously do your vocal warm-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
But what do you like? What sort of things do you avoid? Do you avoid like dairy? Do you avoid certain foods,
I know
drinks?
I don't like eating before I perform, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, in fact, our last gig at Crazy Coq's, they feed you when you go to Crazy Coq's, they feed you. It's one of the Wolseley Group restaurants. So the food is fantastic.
Mm,
And if you do there's usually two sets. There's one artist on first and then another artist on second. I used to always do the first set, but this time I did the second set, which means they feed you first. And of course, because it was free food,
Oh no.
and I really felt like I didn't want to go on stage. So just eating in general before going on stage is not a good idea for me. But if I'm in a studio, I usually have I have sounds disgusting. I have these nasal rinse things that go
Yeah.
clear out
Clear out your nasal passageways and stuff. Yeah.
all those cavities that are around here that are places where sound reverberates. I get all that clear, and then yeah, the usual sort of lemon, honey, and ginger tea.
That's a
There's
good
a
one.
wonderful tea called Throat Comfort tea, which I love as well. I usually have that in a flask with me. Um, I don't necessarily avoid dairy as such, but I'm not a big dairy drinker anyway. I'll
Mm.
definitely have a cup of tea with milk in it before
Mm.
singing, whilst singing. But I'm not a big dairy person anyway. But I wouldn't choose to avoid dairy. I know it's supposed to not be very good for singing. Um, but yeah,
Mm.
that's the kind of thing I would normally do.
Yeah.
There's this new thing that everyone's doing, which is blowing with a straw
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
into water, or even getting an empty plastic bottle, putting it over your mouth and blowing out your cheeks. And it does something in here which really strengthens your vocal cords. It sort of stretches them out like this, and that's supposed to be very good as well, which I think is a similar thing to blowing through a straw.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah,
Might
yeah.
try that next time. That sounds good.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I suppose like of course like some let's talk about some of the work you've got coming up. So obviously you've got a new album coming out this year in June, right?
No, it's not coming out. We haven't even started working on it yet, but
Ah.
we're starting work on it in June.
Ah, cool.
So the producer, Paul Stacey, who I was talking about before, the Oasis guy, he lives in Kent. So I needed to have a block of time free. My son's going to America for a month in June. So I'm going to have that time to go down to Kent and work with him. We've chosen quite a lot of songs that we want to look at and work on. We haven't written any of them ourselves, but they're quite obscure, some of the songs. I'm not going to tell you what any of them are because
Oh, go on. You can. It's just me and you here. Come on.
no. I some of them I mean, we feel obviously we've probably been talking about this for 2 years, me and Paul, and yeah, we finally decided June is going to be the time when I'm going to go down and we're going to start recording.
Brilliant.
So how long it's going to take us to work on it, I don't know. But we'll probably do about 10 or 12 songs.
That'd be good. That'd be
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Keep the. I assume anyway. If it's jazz heavy again, right?
No, it's not jazz at all.
Ah.
Not at all jazz. No. Um, I can't say much about it.
Okay.
If you ever listen to any of the other jazz vocalists that Paul Stacey has worked with, he's worked with very famous UK guy called Ian Shaw, and there is the most fabulous song on that album that he did with Ian Shaw called Pretending to Care, and it is honestly one of my favorite songs. It's not jazz, but you would see where it's coming from. Pretending to Care, Ian Shaw, and that was produced by Paul Stacey. And then he also did Riverman, the Nick Drake song with Claire Martin, who's also probably our top female jazz vocalist in the UK. He did an album of songs with her, and they're jazz artists, but what he did with them wasn't necessarily jazz. So that will give you an idea of where I'm
Okay.
going.
I won't press you for any more details. Don't worry. But no, but we look forward to it. Yeah, I suppose when you've got a mentor like or collaborator like someone like that, I mean, what kind of what kind of what's the word I'm looking for? What kind of wisdom or advice has he given you about the whole recording process or writing songs in general that you've really taken on board?
I think up to now, the importance, I've known Paul for 30 years.
Wow.
Um, I would say that I've always admired him because he is a phenomenal guitarist. I mean, he's widely recognized within the world of guitar as being
Brilliant.
someone who's really at the top. Um, I would say that it's been more important to get an understanding between the both of us of where we want this album to go. And we've talked a lot about some of the things we've talked about today, you and I, about the sort of idea of telling a story,
Mm.
the idea of different instrumentation, of what kind of instrumentation we're going to use, of how whatever we do is going to be cohesive. Um, and we've listened to a lot of different music, sort of music with Baltic sounds, the kind of Kurt Weill-esque style of music. We've listened to so much stuff. We've listened to a lot of 1970s music as well, the kind of Leonard Cohen-y type
Yes, the cone.
guitar-based stuff. Um, and I think really we don't know what's going to happen until we're sitting in a studio together. But I think what we
Yeah.
have got that's very strong right now is that having talked about it for the last couple of years, we speak a lot on the phone. Whenever I come across a song, I know that he'll enjoy listening to, I send it to him and vice versa. So over the last 2 years, we've been coming up with all these different ideas and they've been consolidating to a point where when we go into the studio in June, I think we're going to be ready to move forward in a way that we're both on the same track in our minds about, about what's going to be right and what's going to be wrong. And of course, often when you're trying stuff out, you don't know what's working or what's not working until you've done it. The
Mm.
same with acting or on stage. You can try something out and it won't work, and then you'll say,
Yeah.
"Oh, let's try it, whatever." So I think it's the collaboration that's going to happen when we're in the studio. That's the next kind of step on the ladder towards the finished product, I guess.
Brilliant. Yeah. I suppose really, well, first of all, yeah, like I say, we look forward to it and keep us posted on the release and everything. And I suppose really like, as a singer yourself, is there kind of one, oh, because we have many different inspirations and such. I remember Tony Bennett had this brilliant quote, which I think Michael Bublé shared. And he said, steal from everybody, steal from them all. Like, if you steal from one person, you're a thief. But if you
Yes.
steal from everybody, you can call it research.
Yeah.
And so, like, who would you say is like some have been your biggest inspirations, do you think, that's
Oh
helped
gosh,
you craft your voice?
a lot of female singers I've listened to, a lot of people like Emmylou Harris and Dolly Parton, a lot of Dolly Parton's early stuff. Dory Previn, obviously, I did an album of her songs with John Reynolds. Um, gosh, so many singers. Of course, John Reynolds did Sinead O'Connor's first album. Sinead O'Connor, listening to her is unbelievable. And also there's something about the way she sings which is so authentic. She really puts the story across and is truthful and honest to the lyric. And all those people, I mean, I've listened to everyone, uh, anyone and everyone I've listened to. A lot of show music. I remember growing up, my mum had the Evita record, the first one with Julie Covington in the part of Ava Peron, and I just remember knowing every single lyric to that album. Oh, what's happening? That's my dog growling.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of show tunes. And then I've also listened to Leonard Cohen, Bob Dylan. I mean, there are too many influences to mention.
Mm.
The time, Kurt Weill. I did the Threepenny Opera when I was still at school, and I remember being totally immersed in that when I was doing that. So, yeah, too many songs, and also being in choirs at school. I sang in Bath Abbey when I was at school, and um, doing requiems and things. And when you're part of a choir, your voice can't stand out. You're supposed to be sort of meld in with everybody around you. I think everything I've ever done musically has influenced me in some way, and it's given me my own journey which has led me to now, and hopefully will go on and lead me to the next place. But yeah, too many influences.
Yeah, there's a
Debbie
few.
Harry, Blondie, first record I ever bought.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's some good influences in there. Yeah, you said Leonard Cohen and famous Blue Raincoat, and I didn't.
Oh,
Yeah, and I didn't realize actually up to a few years ago that he was the one who wrote Hallelujah.
yeah,
That's his song.
exactly, exactly. What a song.
Yeah, and it's been done so many times, so many different like variations and covers, blah blah blah. But I was like, that's Leonard Cohen.
Yeah,
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 famous Blue Raincoat. I mean, I don't know about you, but his voice is like obviously you wouldn't want to see him in like a musical or anything, but he's got a very kind of distinctive voice, which is like he tells a story through his own natural tones. And I think James Taylor's the same. He's like you can hear his
yeah.
speaking voice and this his singing voice. It's like just like a heightened version of him talking in some way, and it's yeah,
James Taylor, Carole King, I listened to a lot
yeah.
of, and Joni Mitchell obviously was a huge influence. I listened to her a lot through my teenage years. Famous Blue Raincoat, I know every single lyric to.
Mm. Yes,
Maybe
yes,
if you
yes.
come to a gig next time, I'll sing it for you.
Yeah, no, that'd be good. No, yeah, yeah. It's 4 in the morning, the end of December.
I'm writing you now.
Just-
4 in the morning, the end of December. I'm writing you now just to see if you're better.
Mhm.
It goes on and it goes on. I wasn't expecting to sing today, but there you go.
Yeah, there you
You
go.
reminded
Yeah,
me of that song.
yeah.
Jennifer Warnes. Do you ever listen to Jennifer Warnes?
No, no.
She did a whole album of Leonard Cohen covers, and she sings
Wow.
that one beautifully.
I'll check that out. That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got that mysterious quality to it that I think anyone else who listens to Leonard Cohen will be like, oh, he sounds so miserable. Oh, he sounds like he's like, how could you enjoy listening to that? But that's everyone's got an opinion. But
Yeah.
it's like for me, it's like he's got this strange quality, which is I want to listen to you because it feels like
Yeah.
him and James Taylor, like a heightened version of their speaking voice. It's like it's coming from their soul in
Yeah.
a way, and they're telling these stories authentically to themselves
Yeah.
and of
And
the audience. Yeah,
Man is just the most beautiful song. It's so incredible. And So Long, Marianne. I mean, just I
yeah,
love the way he gets those kind of gospel-y style singers in the background, kind of that only complement what he's doing and lift it up to another level. I think he's amazing.
yeah. It's definitely an influence on
Mm,
many people. Yeah,
mm.
and you realize, like, Hallelujah, that's Leonard Cohen.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. There you go. But anyway, Nick, I've just got a few more things left for you today. But yeah, I'm just thinking about like your we talked a lot about your inspirations just there and everything, and like the things that have really kind of modeled you in some ways. But I suppose really the first thing to begin with, like, what's your favorite jazz song, and what would you like to leave behind in the world of music, or what impact would you like to leave on the music business?
Oh my goodness, those are big questions. My favorite jazz song. I would say maybe it's Fran Landesman's Spring Can Really Hang You Up the Most.
Mhm.
If not that one, um, it could be another song that she wrote called Ballad of the Sad Young Men, but it's quite a sad song, that one.
Yeah,
But Spring Can Really Hang You Up the Most is probably my favorite jazz song. Um, and it's one that I came across quite late. I would say my first favorite jazz song is yeah, no, let's stick with that. Let's stick with
yeah.
that. Yeah, God, it's such a difficult question.
I know, I know. It's so there's so many we can pick, but just quickly, there's that song we mentioned, "The Secret of Silence" earlier, and there's a lyric in there called "seductively smiling," and I think you mentioned the Mona Lisa. Well, the song mentions the Mona Lisa,
Yeah.
and slightly. I mean, this is probably slightly off topic here now, but is that a seductive smile for the Mona Lisa, or is it?
It's supposed to be,
Yeah,
isn't it? It's supposed to be a seductive smile. I mean, I think the idea of beauty in those days is a different idea, and the idea of seduction as well was very
Mm,
different in those days to the way we see it now. But I think that is one of the things about the Mona Lisa is that it is supposed to be a sort of come hither smile, like what's going on in my mind kind of thing about sex.
mm,
I think that that is what it is. I mean, I wouldn't personally say that she's smiling very seductively, but then I'm coming from a 21st century point of view, and I don't think that it's the same as it was back then.
yeah. It's I know. I mean, I'm not an art critic. I'm not an art expert, but there's I don't know if I've ever met anyone who says, what kind of smile is that? What is she smiling about? I'm not even sure Da Vinci even knew. Well, of course he knew, but he wouldn't tell anybody. But it's an interesting one. Yeah, that's sort of jumped out at me. I thought I'm going to ask you about that. But yeah, but what do you think? What impact would you like to make on the music business? Do you think?
I'd like people to recognize me for having sung stories in an authentic way.
Yeah,
I, yeah. And I mean, I don't actually even think of it in those terms of being recognized or remembered. It would be nice, but I'd just like to continue to work with fantastic musicians,
yeah,
really. That's what I'd really like to do.
yeah. Just keep making great work more than anything. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And amen to that for all creatives out there of any kind. But yeah, Nikki, thank you very much for today. This has been a
Thank you
real,
so much for having me, Ollie.
yeah, no, it's been great. Honestly, thank you for all your stories and your insights into music and everything. It's been a really, I never thought I'd have a conversation about jazz or kind of different types of music before. So yeah, thank you for that. I've just got
Yes.
two quick fire questions left for you today. It's the last two
Okay.
questions for every guest. So I suppose it ties into what we were just talking about, actually. So first of all, what would you say was a bit of advice you wish you heard when you were starting out?
Be bold. Don't be afraid of failure, putting yourself on the line. Um, I don't think anybody gets anywhere um, without trying really hard to do something that you know you might be good at. Even if people often try and fit into something, but I think we're all different, and I think you just got to go with what you know and the way you want to move forward. Yeah, be bold, I would say.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. That just reminded me of a quote, which is like, a winner is someone who lost, but just tried again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
I stopped singing for 20 years because I had
Really?
children and I couldn't fit it into my life. I remember when after my first baby, I had a 3 album deal with a jazz label in which is how my first album came out. And then I had my first child and I had 2 more albums to do with them. And I remember driving back from a gig in Scotland at 3 o'clock in the morning with kind of 50 quid in my pocket after petrol.
Mm,
And I couldn't sleep because I had to get home and breastfeed my baby. And I just thought, this is not going to work. I have
mm,
to do one or the other. I can't do both of these things really well.
mm.
And I chose, without any regrets at all, I chose to do my kids. And I did that. It's very un-PC point of view these days because we're supposed to be able to have it all. But I didn't find I could do both things. And so I left it for 20 years. And coming back with the album, the second album of Fran Lansman's songs, 20 years later, I didn't think it was going to work as well as it did, and that I was going to get the great critical feedback that we did. So I feel incredibly lucky. So even never think you're too old and be bold. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Amen to all that. And finally, today, what would you say was an experience or experiences you've had in your career up to now that you'll never, ever forget?
That would be two things. John Lord from Deep Purple walking into my kitchen and rehearsing a song with me that he'd written. And the other one is going into a studio with Georgie Fame and Jack Bruce to record on an album by Gary Husband. Yeah. there we go. Those are the experiences I'll never forget.
Yeah, just a Deep Purple drummer in your kitchen. Yeah, I remember you saying actually when we met a couple of weeks ago at Susie's thing for
Yeah,
Empire, which is, you meet all these incredible people and you realize that they're just like they're just people and
yeah,
they want to jam or they want to talk or they want to act.
yeah.
They're just like, there's no point putting these guys on a pedestal. They're just like us.
No, exactly.
Everyone's one.
And as you say, they just want to be able to continue to do the work that they're doing in the best way possible, you know.
Easy as that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
brilliant. Nikki, thank you so much. This has been a really, really interesting talk, and I've really, really enjoyed it. And thank you so much for your time and during this period that you've got and everything. And yeah, it's been absolutely great. So thank you so much. It's
Thank
been
you so much for having me, and I've really enjoyed it. And you've asked some very thought-provoking questions.
well, thank you for that. It's just following my instincts more than anything. Brilliant. So if you just hang on, I'll finish the recording and then we'll have a tiny debrief and you can just shoot back to life and all that stuff. In the meantime, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been the Uncensored Critic podcast, and I'll be back very, very soon. And Nikki, just thank you. Thank you so much.
So much.